It is once again a beautiful morning, 8:30 a.m. on Friday, April 26th. Yesterday we actually had a decent day. It started kind of cloudy and cold, but the sky turned nice, but I did not get out here to work at all. I did a couple of measurements, that's about it. But I had to take my daughter in for some oral surgery in the morning. She got all her wisdom teeth removed, and then by the time we got home, my grandson came over and I watched him. And then about the time he was leaving, I had to run Joyce to an urgent care center because she's developing a sinus infection, and I got a new train, so just didn't have the compunction to get out here. And these are the cuts. These are the part of the railings that drive me the craziest. In some ways, you think it's straightforward. I have to run angle cuts here, but matching this angle, because think of it as a triangle. You have a base, your hypotenuse, and then coming across. You're trying to level this all. And but you have to maintain the same angle down, and you still have certain codes. For example, the widest a gap can be is 3.5 inches. So my rails are 3.5 inches up from the base, and then 3.5 inch spacings between the spindles. But here you have to incorporate that on an angle because you're actually going to be coming down, so it's much harder to make sure you get those straight, especially with this new system, because your brain would naturally think, well, it's a 45 or roughly a 45 or maybe a 31.6 degree angle. But yeah, I've got to measure the angle, and I've got the tools to do that. But again, you're dealing with the warpage of the post here. So I plan on starting just across the bottom here, and I just got to find something straight. I'll probably just use a string and go from the point here, mark 3.5 inches off, which is really coming straight across from there, and then 3.5 inches down at the bottom there. Run a string, get my angle, and then make that cut. But it's not necessarily the same angle on this post because of the way it's warped, so I'll then have to measure the angle in reverse and then do it again at the top. So that's going to take a lot of time to get it. And as I said, I am running out of these boards between the 3 shops in Toledo. I have bought pretty much all the handrails that I can use that are in stock. I'm hoping somebody might restock here over the next few days, and I can get a couple of more, because I have made some mistake cuts, particularly fitting this one in, although the final cut came out great because I finally realized I was misreading the angle. But so anyhow, a lot of babbling here to start, and I don't know when I'll put this up because I don't know if I'll get a lot of this done. I do have a live stream to do today, so I should get to work on this and see what I can get done. Okay, I just finished my live stream. I didn't film this earlier. Right before I went live, I got one set of side rails installed and had to go out and buy some more rails to make up for some bad cuts I made on a couple of things. So it is installed. Looks pretty good. These are always the toughest to do. So now I got to do that side, and then I want to get the one over here done. That goes from this top post down, and get at least one handrail in over here. I'm hoping to get that all done. I don't know if I'll get to work on this tonight. I gotta take care of getting dinner. Joyce isn't feeling well. My daughter's still recovering from her dental surgery, and it's gonna get cold tonight. It's it's already starting to chill down, so I may just call it a day with just that little bit, which took 4 hours to do for odd reasons. Otherwise, I'll just splice this on to tomorrow's video, and my goal is by tomorrow night to have 1, 2, 3 more railings in. That's my goal. And then eventually I have to get another post and figure out how we're going to put it here. Am I going to drill through the concrete and mount it through there, or do something else? And then have the second side here, because by code this has to have 2 rails on each side. 1 on each side. Okay, so that's where I'm at. Take care. Good morning. It is Saturday, April 26th. I believe it's the 26th. It's about 9:15 in the morning. Getting out a little bit late today, but it didn't matter because we've had rain again. Originally it was going to clear, and you can actually see a little bit of blue sky here, but the forecast says it's going to cloud over and rain off and on most of the day today and get windy later in the afternoon. After yesterday, the forecast said today would be mostly sunny and warm. It's going to be cloudy and warm and windy with rain. So I'm going to try to do what I can do. I really want to get, I've got one here I want to get in, one handrail here to get in. I've got one last one here to do, and then I've got 2 to do here, but I have to go out and get a post and try to decide how we're going to mount the post in the concrete. Joyce really doesn't want to drill up the new concrete here, but we're going to have to compromise on something. But anyhow, and so I want to get at least 1 rail here, just to have handrails on each side until I can finish it up. I've got plenty of wood to do it. Anyhow, show you a little trick. If you ever want to build a deck and you don't have all the newest, fanciest tools, but a little bit of when building handrails with a deck. First of all, handrails tend to be 30 to 35% angles, and this is an old level and angle finder. It's an old style tool. There are digital electronic tools as well, but in the end you still have to do something akin to this. My dad used to drill what he considered a straight piece of wood. He would mark up, for example, this is a my little spacer block, but it's also 3.5 inches long. It's a 3-way spacer block, narrow, thick, and also spindle and gap, because Ohio has a 3.5 inch code, so your space from deck to floor cannot be more than 3.5 inches wide. Your space between the spindles cannot be more than 3.5 inches wide. So this measures up 3.5 inches, so this would be the bottom of my rail, and I can do this either way, but I take this tool and I'll set it against, I'll take this tool here, I'll set it against, and I can use this blade, and actually I'd probably come up from the bottom because it's pretty much already set to the right level. But then I can take this and transfer the mark to my handrail. I can just, if this were a piece of handrail, I could set this on and draw my line, and that's where I would cut, and that would give me the flush fit for the angle. Now it can't account for any waves in this, and that's why there are newer tools that let you really draw a line cut, but in the end this still gives me the right angle. But the key is, don't just measure here and assume it's the same angle there, because over time these poles could have bent this way, that way, so the distance and the angle down here will not be the same as the distance and the angle up here. But if you're in the 30 to 35 degree range, it's not going to be a huge difference. If you ever buy a miter saw, a compound miter saw, you may notice that there's always a 33 degree and a 31.6 degree mark usually on them, along with your 0, 15, 30, 45, because 33 and 31.6 are your 2 of your most common handrail angles. It just depends. And of course the angle all depends on the riser and the tread, you know, how far up you're going, how far out you're going. And you can change codes. Obviously, if you go with a lot of little steps, you're going to have a more, different angle. But your standard, if you go by code, your standard angles will be 30 to 35 degrees. I may have said percent earlier, but 35 degrees. So I'm going to go ahead and I just use a string here. I just tie it off and make sure I'm at my point there. And then you can see another one where maybe you could see down there, and I'll just measure that angle and I'll go cut my handrail boards, and that will be my bottom. And then I will get a rough approximation. Usually I will use this because I am spacing these the same and everything is distanced the same. So I'll use a point across from here to get a rough idea of where I should be. Tie it off, same distance here up from the bottom. So I'll take a string, tie it off here, and run it across to measure the same distance up from here. Put it on there and see if the angle is close. And again, you can split the difference. It's just how flush a fit you want. But it tends to work. For example, you can see my handrails over here. Actually, my best cuts. That is nice and smooth. I put a little clear coat on the end to seal it up before putting it on. Down here, slightly off a bit, but that's as much the screw going in, pushing it up a little bit or pulling it down a little bit, but it's in, it's tight. Very happy with that. So now I've just got 3 more to go and I can call myself done for now. Eventually I'll have to do a 4th one over there. All right, sorry for the shaky hands. It is about 11:20 in the morning, and if you can't tell, I'm in sunlight. 15 minutes ago it was raining. I started work about 9:20, 9:30ish, and downpour. Well, I was in the garage, so I just finished marking, and then I ran in the house and took the pieces of wood with me, and I put things together in the house. And then the rain finally stopped, so I came out and put another section of rail in, which I'll show you in a second. And then just got done, downpour. And I did mess up another board because I flipped the board and forgot to switch the angle, because I do that all the time. I'm getting old and stupid. But anyhow, so let's show you what. All I did was get one more set in, but this is Joyce's grand entrance into the yard. I call it Joyce's grand. She wanted something really wide so she could sit up here on the deck and stare out at the yard, see the birds on her bird feeders. She's got one there, one over here. She actually will have another one here. We had 2 beautiful rose bushes here. We have roses back there, and you know, she can just sit out here, read, and enjoy our little yard. And so this is sort of her grand yard entrance, as I teasingly call it. But I think it's cool. We're actually gonna go, I gotta go get another board because I screwed up a cut again, but we have to pick up more spindles. We underestimated how many we were gonna need by about 20. Hey everybody, it is Sunday, April 28th. I think yesterday I called Saturday the 26th, and the last 24 hours have been a major roller coaster. If you hadn't paid attention on Facebook or whatever, well, let's go in chronological order. I left the video off and was talking about getting close to finishing. Well, I did, so let's show you what I've accomplished. I did get all the side rails and the stair railings in. Now I do have one more to go. I have to do one more on this side, but I have to mount a post, so I've bought a post mount, and the other one is in there drying out. And on the side, now I've always had just the one railing on this side, but by code I technically am supposed to have a second one here. I just don't really have a way to mount it, and I just leave it at 1 there. But I got this one, and this one proved to be kind of hard to go in just because these are probably the 2 of the worst warped posts. But I got it and it looks nice. The only negative one was here because these posts were a bit warped, and the different style of railing I'm doing, I actually had to raise this up about 1 inch. So normally my handrails are straight in line, straight across. You know, you can see over here I really ran it so that they come on the same level, but because of the new treads down here and how they sit and come out, they actually got in the way. Now, if I had realized that, I just would have cut these treads back, but it still wouldn't have affected some of the other issues here, but it did affect a bit. So I could have cut those treads or angled them off a bit and fit this down more, but I didn't want to get into it. So I raised it up, and we'll have a big flowering bush there, and then we have planters here anyhow. Nobody will see, and if they do see and mention it, oh well. I'm not modeling for professional work. So I did get that done. My goal was to have it done Friday, but I got it done Saturday, which was sort of the last goal. Unfortunately, I didn't get to make this video because literally while I was finishing up, Joyce, who some people may know, who has had a bad cough and everything all week, really took a bad turn and was had chills without a fever. And long story short, we spent from about 5:30, 6 o'clock to 1:30 a.m. this morning at the hospital. Joyce has pneumonia, a sinus infection, a really hefty sinus infection, but she has pneumonia in her left lung, and it wasn't sitting and waiting. We were not like sitting for 4 hours waiting. They did a quick test on her, and her blood oxygen was at like 91, 92%. And they immediately rushed her back, and with her chills and some chest pain, they were worried she might even be having a cardiac episode because she had a lot of those symptoms. So that got attention right away. And she went through a lot of treatments. I think the only thing is it did take them a while to decide to put her on oxygen and IVs. And we were actually cleared to go home at about 10 p.m. And then she stood up, maybe it was 9:30. She stood up and yeah, she had a massive blood pressure and heart rate drop and almost passed out. So they said, nah, you're staying here for a little while longer. And they came back a little later and they got her to sit up, and blood pressure was okay. And then she stood up, and within about 10 seconds of standing up, she had a massive blood pressure drop. So yeah, we wound up being there till 2 a.m. before they gave her 2 full units of IV, and they gave her some steroids and antibiotics, and that finally seemed to get to the point where they decided she was safe to go home. They're gonna do it. So anyhow, I wanted to get out early this morning, but we just had storms and storms and storms. And about 10 minutes ago, 15 minutes ago, the sun came out, and I decided to let the deck dry off a bit. You can see there's still lots of wet areas. But I have one last attached thing I'm going to do on the deck, and I want to get that done today. And that's what's going to finish it off. We're going to put some post toppers on, and I've got them in the back of the truck, and I'm going to get them out here and put them on while the rain's holding off. So I'll come back when that's done and let you see. Okay, it is 2 in the afternoon, and the rain held off. So really, I've got the deck done with the remaining jobs. The one set of, I'm painting the post, but I've got to, actually I'm not painting the post. I've got one post I have to put in over by the main entrance here. I've got one post I got to put in here, but when I picked it up at the lumber yard, it was pretty wet, and I don't know if it was just water wet, because they do store it out of the rain, so I assume it was wet from wherever it traveled from, and whether it is water wet or some of the pressure treating saturating out of it.
I got to let it dry for a few days before I can do it. But the big thing is the post caps are in. These are all lights, and so this is really brings it. I've got all the junk off for now. I also still have to I'll pressure wash it and then treat it, but we're waiting for a forecast to give us about 3 days of low chance of rain. But that's it. The main deck remodel is done, and maybe when I get all the new furniture out here, I'll do one last video with it all done, because in the evening, once these charge up enough, and our new deck umbrella will have has lighting in it as well. So I don't think I'll just make a video putting that post in. You can kind of imagine, but when I do maybe one last video of it all done, I'll make sure to include that post and see the main entrance, because we call this the grand entrance, but this is the main entrance because it comes off the driveway. Our backup car, which has been our main car lately, my Charger, is parked in the garage. It hasn't been used much in the last 3 weeks, just because it's just easier to leave this car out with all the runs to the lumber yard. I've got a Journey, my daughter has a Journey. Everybody in my family drives Dodges, in case you didn't know. So yeah, I'm happy with it. There's a couple of things I wish I'd done better, of course, but hey, for a guy that only grew up knowing the rough trades and not spent a life perfecting it, considering I only build a deck every 10 years, yeah, I'm quite pleased with it. So there'll maybe be one last follow-up video when I get everything else in, and that'll probably be a couple of weeks away. So I want to thank everybody for coming on this journey with me, and yeah, I mean, it's weird to be putting deck building stuff on a model train channel, but I just have a channel and do my thing. So anyhow, I want to thank everybody for watching all these videos. If you haven't been watching, yeah, I understand. So anyhow, thanks, take care, and I'll see you somewhere. Maybe I'll finally have some time to get back to YouTube. So, auf Wiedersehen, tschüss, and happy trains. Take care, everybody.